Ginger, Optimus, Papagnush, Nils, Christian, Emilio, what's going on? It's kind of productive price action at the beginning of the day there. Obviously, end of the day, we got a big dump out of nowhere. I don't know what they said about Russia. I didn't hear what they were talking about, but obviously it was some bad news because the market just took a big dump. Basically gave back all the gains of the day. We went straight from the high of the day to the low of the day from 315 into the end of the day there. Little tiny bounce at the end of the day, but other than that, oh man, that was pretty ugly price action there. So we have a support here at 445.72. If there's no bad news overnight, as you see already, SPY's already bouncing. Let's see what happens overnight. I'm not really sure what happens tomorrow, to be honest. We have an inside day from Friday. We didn't get to Friday's high, but we didn't also get to Friday's low. So complete inside day. It's basically a guessing game. If we gap up tomorrow, gap down. What's up, Hamza, Ricky, Gurvinder, other Andrew? How you guys doing? Basically a guessing game right now. So if you guys took positions into the close there, we're on an inside day on SPY. Let's see where we open up tomorrow. If there is bad news, obviously look at the volume today, guys. Compared to the last couple of weeks, it looks like this was capitulation here, which means usually a bottom is forming. Why do I say that? Look at this bottom right here. Look at the size of the volume. Once it dies out, we start melting back up. Look, this bottom here, big volume. Once it dies out, the volume starts melting back up. And that's how you mark bottoms usually. It's called capitulation. It's high volume selling. All the sellers run out. And then once that big volume subsides, that's when the melt ups start, when the small volume starts again. You can go to almost any bottom. Bottom here in August, big volume for 4 or 5 days. And then once it dies out, melt up mode. So that's how you usually tell it's close to a bottom, if not at a bottom. So let's see like tomorrow's price action. If you were to ask me, are we gonna gap up tomorrow, gap down tomorrow, I'd probably say 50% chance. What's up, Crow Power? How you doing? So the morning we had that little sell-off, so we got up to 45.20. SPX 45.20 was a level I gave you this morning. Very important level, 45.20. We got up there this morning right here. This is Friday's action back here, so ignore that. Starting right here, we got up to 45.20. First test of 45.20, complete rejection. Came straight down, went to the low of the day. Bear flag, took out the lows, caught everyone's stop. This is where I got long SPX for Friday. So took Friday's SPX here, missed out on the bottom by like 2 cents. Other than that, it was moving fine, moving up slowly. We're up about 60%. All of a sudden at 3:15, we came to retest this 45.20. Again, we peaked our head above, closed one candle above, and then right back down, and it's in a parabolic line down. So that was an ugly close. For bears, it's a good close. For bulls, it's a very bad close. But again, if you scroll out to the daily chart on SPY or SPX, it's just an inside day from last time. So let's see where we are tomorrow morning. We'll make a new plan, and we'll decide what we need to do. QQQ is the weakest today. Definitely dumped a lot at the close there. But again, it's just an inside day. 2 straight inside days, Thursday, Friday, and today, all inside. So we have to see where the bulls want to win or the bears want to win tomorrow. XLF was one of the strongest names today. Went right to the high of the day near the end of the day there. Clearly broke the previous high of the day, but then dumped alongside everything else. Nice little bounce into close. So we closed relatively flat from where we opened on XLF. That's a solid sign. IWM as well, we actually closed green. We opened up today at around, where did we open up? We opened today at 198.43. We closed today at 199.49. So we did close green on IWM. Pretty constructive price action. If you zoom out to the 4 hour here on IWM's clear inverse head and shoulders going on. Turn off extended hours for you guys there. So you have the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder. And let's see if we can get a move up to this neckline here, which would be around 204.50-ish level. That's what I'm waiting for on IWM. But we closed green, I meant, on one of the smallest index or the weakest indexes that we've had this year. So that's pretty productive. Other than that, I mean, we have to see where we open. ES, you can watch after hours how it trades, but right now we look like we're bouncing. Even if we get up to VWAP, that recovers about 50% of the downturn, and we will be right back where we started today. VIX, super weak, falling off a cliff. On the daily chart here, again, guys, remember we're putting in higher lows on the VIX, so there is more volatility expected unless we lose this 2046. 2046 is very key on VIX. If we lose the 2046 lows, that negates the daily higher lows that we're putting in. So we put in a low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and now do we get a higher high, or do we come and take out this low here of 2046? If we go under 2046, I think the market can start melting up again. As long as we stay above it, it's just a higher low, and we have to be watching for more volatility. Right now, it's banging its head on the 8-day and 21-day moving averages, and it's holding right above the 50-day moving average. So right now, VIX is in an inside day as well, basically, and we have to wait for bulls or bears to take over here. Yields are super strong, another gap up today. This chart is super strong. Obviously, it's run a lot, so maybe it needs to cool off a bit while the market pulls up a bit. That's why it made me kind of bullish for this week. But if yields stay up here and stay strong and keep breaking out, I mean, this market can come down a lot more as well. But the way SE held at the end of the day was very, very positive for growth stocks. Let's see. Bitcoin broke off the correlation to the market a little bit. It's been super, super strong where the market wasn't super, super strong. We closed above the 50, well, in 2 hours and 50 minutes, if we close above the 50-day on Bitcoin, that's a very bullish sign. It looks like we can get some momentum here. What I would look for an entry on Bitcoin is a pullback. I want the market to clear up a little bit, be more healthy. I want Bitcoin to pull back to this little 43, 175-ish level. And if it retests the 50-day and this level, then I might be looking for some longs. Other than that, the market is so weak, I don't really want to expose risk on to crypto right now, especially the most risky asset there is. We got Apple here. Great puts by Bookie and Rickster today. They crushed it. We hit this one last week as well. Apple, I like shorting Apple for one reason. It's because the price action is very, it's kind of confined. So if you take puts on Apple, let's say you took puts here, you'll get a nice 40-50% gain on this dump here. But even if the trade goes against you, you're only going to lose 10-15%. Whereas if you short something like Tesla or you short something like Amazon, if it goes against you, you're down like 40-50% in seconds. Apple's a very clear, easy short, so I will probably be looking for Apple short if the market wants to roll over this week. It's one of my favorite names to short. And right now it looks like it wants to curl down. You see the stochastics have kind of topped out. They're curling down. RSI's kind of topped out, curling down. Either this is a bull flag that holds these moving averages and we move back up to all-time highs, or we roll over under the moving averages and then we have to go back test this huge wedge from way back in August of 2020. So right now for Apple, I would watch how it holds above these moving averages. They're all right together around 171, 170.50. If we close below 170, 170, then Apple is a clear short to me all the way down to the wedge would be the first target around 166. And under, if we go back in the wedge, we can go anywhere in this wedge. So keep an eye on Apple. UPS, I took some calls for March today. Why did I take them? Just because this is the most beautiful weekly chart I've seen out there right now. Clear inverse head and shoulders. Big breakout on big volume on earnings. We held up beautifully today. If you guys go to a daily chart, when a stock gaps up and it holds its gap for about 4 days, I really like the setup to go higher. And right now we did hold the gap for about 4 days now, and now I think we go back to all-time highs. Let's see what UPS, we have a lot of time on those calls. I'm not too worried about day-to-day price action. Nvidia, I have 300 calls for March. They held up very, very well today. We got earnings on Feb 16th on Nvidia, one of the best companies in the world. You've seen how badly AMD crushed their earnings. I expect Nvidia to do the same. I'll probably be out most of it. Right now I have a small position just to keep an eye on it. I was looking to add, but I didn't want to add today because they weren't letting the premiums go down at all, even on the dips in the stock. Pretty strong price action, closed green. I mean, it's a clear uptrend. If you guys watch a 1-minute chart, obviously it looks ugly at the end there. But if you zoom out to like an hourly chart, or like if you zoom out to an hourly chart even, from the open, we were just grinding up slowly all day, pulled back at the end of the day, recovered most of that dip, and in after hours we're recovering even more. So if you zoom out, like these are pretty nice uptrends starting to form on these chip companies. Plus ON is another semiconductor company reported this morning. They raised guidance. They had great numbers. So let's look for these chips to show continued strength in this market, even though the market's kind of choppy right now. Chips are putting in higher lows on bigger time frames. SE, I actually added back more calls at the end of the day. Why did I add back? There's one reason. So you open up a SPY. Like SPY is the best 500 stocks in the market, right? So SPY, you see this. Let me turn on extended hours so you guys see what's today. So this is the action on SPY today, right? So we went sideways, down, up, and then huge dump at the end of the day. If you look at SE, we had that big rip at the beginning of the day. We had that initial dump, but at the end of the day, look at this. Just held so solid. We got big volume coming in. I mean, I didn't really watch to see big volume coming in, but this is just telling me right here, someone's buying this like crazy at the end of the day. This is SPY since 315. We will just see for 1 second, just for just to see. So SPY from the end of the day, they're 315 to the end of the day. We lost 1.14%. On SE, I don't even need to do this, but look at this. It's completely sideways. We didn't lose anything on SE. We didn't even lose VWAP. So that shows complete strength. If the market is to gap up tomorrow, I think SE has a big gap up. We're getting super tight. This was my trade of the week on the newsletter. We closed above the trend line. And right now I'm looking for a move up to 164, which is a 21-day moving average. If we get through 164, we can even move to the 50-day, which is above $200. So big gains possible here on SE if we get continuation tomorrow. I really like this one, especially how it held at the end of the day. ZS is another one I'm watching. A cybersecurity company. It's a great company. Clear downtrend. They've been crushing earnings over and over again. We had two kind of setups here. So we had this kind of descending resistance we got through today, and we have a longer term resistance here. So today we stopped right at the top of the resistance. If we get through this upper line here, I think ZS goes on a run as well. And if it does get through, I think we go straight to the 50-day moving average, which is at 286. So that's about a 24-point move on ZS possible if we close above. Dawkins was also very, very strong today. Growth names are holding up despite yields being up. So what I was waiting for on yields, like I told you guys, TNX has run up a lot. I'm looking for a little pullback. This yellow line here is a high all the way from November. If you guys read the newsletter, I pointed this level out. 1.95 would be hard to get through. We kind of stopped almost right there, 1.939, 1.95. I don't want to see it get through there. Obviously, we're a little bit overbought here on almost every time frame. You look at an hourly, we're kind of RSI is hot, kind of cooling off. If we get a curl down on these yields, I think growth names have a lot of room to go. So keep an eye on those yields if you're involved in any of these growth stocks, SE, Dawkins, etc. Today, the most weakness I seen was in big tech, actually. Google's super weak after huge earnings. Apple was super weak today. Microsoft was super weak. Facebook was weak. So these big tech companies and Tesla showed the real weakness, whereas SE and these other companies, they closed green still on the day. Dawkins as well, where looked like we rejected off that trend line for now, but if we do get through tomorrow and get some continuation, that means this is the low here. Let me draw it out for you guys, just for anyone new in here. Sorry guys, if you guys been in here for a while, you probably get bored of me drawing out these patterns, but anyone new can learn from this. So we put in the low, now we put in a high, right? Now is this the higher low, and do we go and form a higher high? So that's what we want to see for a trend change. If you guys want to start adding these equities, you have to wait for a trend change. We put in the low, put in a high, put in a higher low. Now if we get a higher high, that confirms a trend change in the daily for the bulls. So that's what we want to start seeing on all these stocks. Tomorrow, if Dawkins takes out today's highs, there's a very good chance they're trying to change the trend back in the favor of the bulls. Google here, super weak, closed at the low of the day. I mean, this had the best earnings out of any big tech, and it's one of the weakest stocks since. Anyone that bought the day after earnings is screwed right now. July is the stock split. One thing I want to point out on Google, I'm very bullish on Google long term. I really want equity. I want calls for after the stock split. One thing I'm watching is for a gap fill. So that gap we made on earnings, if we go down to 27.55, which is about roughly another 29 points on Google, another 29 points down on Google, I might take a shot on equity here. Start scaling in on equity on Google. Other than that, I mean, this is a dream scenario for those earnings, and you wanna dip. This is the kind of dip you want. You're not gonna get a dip all the way down here unless the market completely implodes. You're not gonna get a dip back down to 24.85 on Google, and you can quote me on that. If it gets back to 24.85, just know the market's in a lot of trouble. So Google, I'm looking for an entry very, very soon. CRM is another one I'm watching for a calls into their earnings, because Nancy Pelosi, obviously. And this is the pattern I'm watching on CRM. So we had a shoulder, a head, and now we're forming the right shoulder. Do we have an inverse head and shoulders form and rip straight into earnings? TradingView says earnings is March 1st. I'm not sure if that's accurate. I'll look into it. But I want calls going into earnings if we form this exactly how we form it. Anyone that's been on my post market before, I drew these lines out like 2 weeks ago. I kind of was waiting for this pattern, so I'm still kind of waiting for it. Let's see if we get it formed properly, and we'll take some calls into March. Tesla 908 was the level Yush kept screaming out all day. He's taking calls off it so many times. Like, look at this. This is 908. You could have taken calls here. Quick scalp. 908, quick scalp. 908, quick scalp. Again, at the end of the day, he caught some for a quick scalp. But we closed underneath 908. T and Boogie took puts. As long as we close below 908, that play should work. Let's see what we get tomorrow. If we get a gap down, those Tesla puts should pay big. So if you guys followed, good luck. I hope you guys had a great day. It was kind of a wonky day, not much to do. Told you guys don't overtrade, just be patient. We will get opportunity. Right now, this market was just chopped, so there's no point in going in too many positions. Again, congrats if you won. Good luck tomorrow.